What's up? This is Rebel Radio.
What up? What up? This is DJ Newmark.
This is Peanut Butter Wolf.
It's your boy. It's okay.
Keep checking out Rebel Radio.
Rebel Radio.
This is Rebel Radio.
We're in the place right here. Rebel Radio is going down.
Did you say Rebel Radio?
Oh, wait. Let's do it again.
Rebel Radio.
I'm your host, Josh Levine. This week we have a very special episode brought to you live from the Cannes Lions International Festival of Creativity. The Lions people are kind enough to give me a press pass every year. And if you're in any business involved with creativity, advertising, entertainment, whatever, I suggest you get down there to the south of France. It's a great week in June. It's beautiful, of course, on the beach there in Cannes. And, you know, you'll meet people, you'll get inspired, you'll get information. I can't recommend it highly enough. I started going a couple years ago and realized I should have been there probably my whole career. So this week our guest is the one and only Samantha Ronson. If you don't know Samantha, she's a great DJ. She's a musician. She's been in the news for lots of details of her personal life. She's got some great stories because she was, most people get to develop their craft kind of in private and become, more known as they go. She didn't really have that luxury. She's got a famous brother, Mark Ronson, famous stepfather, Mick Jones from Foreigner. She's had some famous relationships that we talk a little bit about. And anyway, some great stories about how she's managed it all. We have a little bit of a friendly argument about some of what's going on. I don't think it was really an argument. We pretty much agreed for the most part, but you'll hear it. We talk a little bit about what's going on with the cancel culture today, with celebrities getting into trouble and the kind of pros and cons of all of that. It's a really fun interview. I hope you're going to enjoy it. And right now, let's get into the interview with Samantha Ronson. I love it. That's funny.
Things you learn from Instagram. Somebody said the other day, asked me, there some dumb paparazzi outside dinner. Like, Madonna said that social media is terrible for people and it makes people compare themselves, makes them feel bad about themselves. And I was like, I love social media. And it's like basically my news source. Right. It's like my curated news source because I actually get news from sources that I can trust as opposed to everywhere else.
I mean, it's so, like, I think we just look for these convenient excuses, right? Like, yeah, people are judgmental or they're, and then it's just an easy thing to blame social media for that. I don't think any of that's new.
Yeah, we did it with magazines before.
Right. Totally.
Now we just get to do that to ourselves 24/7.
When I was a kid, I grew up in San Francisco. We had these slam books. Mm-hmm. I'm sure they were gone by the time you were in school, but it was just a spiral notebook, mm-hmm. and on each page there was a question, and then you had it, and so you were number 13, and you just turned the page and answered the question on line 13 for every page, and people would just write the meanest shit about each other. It was like the YouTube comments of the late 70s.
But you owned it. Like, it was, everyone knew who wrote what, right?
Yes, you did. But even that didn't really stop kids from just being mean to each other.
Right, but at least you knew the source and you weren't hiding.
No, you're totally right. I'm just saying, like,
you were going to be a dick to somebody, you were going to be a dick to somebody straight up to their face.
100%. But I'm just saying, people are still shitty.
Yeah, people have been
like, we didn't need
forever.
Twitter to become shitty.
No, we just got to do that at people that we didn't have access to before.
Totally. But I think sometimes we make more of these changes. I just read a great book, the David Byrne book about music, and it made me wish I was more of a Talking Heads fan.
Stop Making Sense?
No, it's called How Music Works.
Oh, yeah.
I wish I liked Talking Heads more than I
love the Talking Heads. I mean, Talking Heads is still...
I love two songs.
What's that song
I like
that
a
I
bit
still
more.
play on a lot of my sets?
Burning Down the House.
No.
Or...
This Must Be the Place.
This Must Be the Place. Yeah. No,
So
I mean,
good.
they have some great music, but on the whole, like, it's not like... I don't think that much about Talking Heads.
Okay,
That's
fair.
my point. But what he had to say was so smart.
I think growing up in New York, it's a New York
a little bit
thing.
different,
Yeah.
for sure. And frankly, I like Tom Tom Club more.
Fair. I play that too.
I mean, that's such an amazing record. But he made this point about how, like, we have all these complaints about the current state of music, and he gave examples for the last 100 years of how those same things have been happening. And even, like, he talked about compressed audio, and, like, the phone company invented that in, like, the 40s.
Right.
Because too many people were making phone calls, and so they had to compress the audio in order so that the switchboards didn't get overloaded.
Oh, wow.
And then radio, like, came and did the same thing, and, like, so... anyway, but we always think that what's happening now is like the thing.
Right, it's its own special, unique thing, and it's not. It's just recycled. Yeah.
Right, yeah. Anyway, that's not why we're here. I appreciate you doing this, and especially because we don't know each other, and you were kind enough to answer my DM, which is amazing of you. And so thank you.
Thank you. I mean, look at this.
This is incredible. Too bad we're not videoing this.
I know.
Because it's an incredible view here in Cannes. And I want to talk
Super
about
yachts.
For sure. And I want to talk about what you're doing here. But I want to start at the beginning. Do you remember the first record you ever bought?
I do. I bought Wham! Make It Big.
Yes.
I did. Wham! Make It Big and
What a great place to start.
Thriller.
And Thriller. That's cool.
Thriller or Off the Wall? Which one is it opens out? He's like...
I think that's Off the Wall.
Off the Wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to, like, to me that's a better record.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's hard. Thriller's obviously an incredible
masterpiece,
record too.
but yes, but Off the Wall. Well, because I like to think that Off the Wall is the one because Off the Wall is a cooler record to say.
For sure.
But I wasn't sure if I was lying to myself, but apparently no. I mean, Off the Wall.
That's a great, both of those. Those are like a high bar to set from the beginning.
But that was like as a child, like going record shopping, not as a DJ.
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah, of course. And so I'm assuming that, you know, you coming from a musical family, that music is always a big part of your life.
Yes.
Is that fair to say?
Yeah, it was just it's funny though, because I never really like had to provide myself with music.
Sure.
Like sometimes when we would go on holiday, like my stepdad would give us money when we'd be going off with our dad to places like this.
Uh-huh.
And we would buy like cassettes at like the airport and things like that.
Yeah.
But I would end up buying foreigner records.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's so dumb.
Amazing.
I think just to piss off my dad, to
Oh,
hurt his
good.
feelings, because
Yeah.
like we'd be going on holiday with him.
So do you have a favorite Foreigner song?
Star Rider.
I don't know that.
It's an album cut for sure.
Okay.
And my
Yeah,
stepfather
clearly.
sings it,
Yeah.
and he doesn't sing a lot of songs. He sings very few songs,
cool.
but he sings the first half of that song. And I love.
I mean, I gotta tell you, when Head Games came out, I was at that age. I was, I don't know, 10, something like that.
It's a good album cover.
It was a great. I mean, the cover and that song.
Could you imagine that album cover coming out now?
Well, I don't know what artists can get away with now.
Definitely not a lady in a men's room, like half dressed.
I mean, but think about it. There's so many covers. Think about all the Ohio Players covers that are naked women.
Yeah.
Think about every.
Definitely wouldn't be on Instagram because of the nipple.
Right. Think about all the heavy metal covers that are
Yeah.
just so exploitative.
I mean, the Guns N' Roses.
Yeah. Is that a how can I ask it? I know you're very outspoken on social about your social political beliefs.
That I am. I also, though, am a little bit stuck in the past where, I'm like, well, that's just how it is sometimes. And I also have, a limit to the woke culture of, as my little sister calls it, the cancel culture.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, well, that's canceled. And I think that kind of avoids this whole cancel Michael Jackson, cancel this one, cancel that one, and in many respects I understand it, but then it doesn't leave any room for discussion or understanding of other points of view. I'm really, really struggling with this Michael Jackson thing right now. As a DJ, as a Michael Jackson fan.
Oh, let's argue. Can we argue about that? I haven't.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we'll argue or if we'll agree. I'm
going to just make up a perspective to disagree with you.
I am I'm a Michael Jackson fan. Sure. I was saying when the whispers about finding Neverland or whatever it was, leaving Neverland, were coming out, and everyone was saying like Michael Jackson is done. I was like, I don't know if I want to be a DJ.
Wow.
In an era where I can't play Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
And
we're not going to
cancel Michael Jackson. And like the influence that he's had on pop culture and everything altogether just seems like R. Kelly. Bye bye. Like you are a current abuser of women.
Sure.
Like no new money, R. Kelly.
Okay.
But like.
Okay.
You're pro R. Kelly?
I am not going on record.
No, we don't have to have
pro
this on
R.
record.
Kelly. No, but so here's the argument I'm going to make. Number one, we have to separate the work from the artist.
But I don't want to give money to somebody like R. Kelly who's using that money to rape women.
I understand that.
Michael
and I think
Jackson
those are different things, right? Like they're different. And so what I'm saying, my wife, in our house, we have no financial stake in Michael Jackson. We're not DJs that play him and whatever, right? So she is disgusted, and when she hears the music, it triggers those feelings, right? So she wants to not hear Michael Jackson ever again, or at least this point in time. I love those songs, and if they come on, I enjoy them, and I don't think about the terrible things that he did. That doesn't trigger that for me.
Same.
And I believe that we have to, if we look at the things that are created by humans, some of whom are shitty or varying degrees of imperfect, right? There is amazing work that's brought into the world by people who don't, quote unquote, deserve our praise and fame.
Right.
And yet, I want those things to exist in the world.
Yes.
Because I think that they matter and they bring something to the world, right?
Yeah, it's like most great artists are fucking crazy.
Right. And so I want to draw that line and say, I can hate you, or I can hate these things that you've done, but I can still appreciate these other things that you've done. Right. Not everyone can do that, but I think that that's important.
Have you listened to that Gerard Carmichael stand-up?
Yes.
He's talking about when he forgave Woody Allen. He was like watching some terrible movie. He's like, that's when I forgave Woody Allen. And the Ignition remix. Listen, I love the Ignition remix.
That's the thing, right? So I get wanting to punish R. Kelly. I'm going to add a couple things to it. One is that he doesn't get all that money that a lot of people who had no knowledge or participation in any of that also get money from that work.
Right.
Producers, writers, whoever, right? So you're punishing, which
They've already got that money. They don't need to work with them anymore.
No, I understand that, but I'm just saying, like, if people are refusing to play, if radio is refusing to play R. Kelly, then the songwriters are punished as well. And maybe you just say, well, that's collateral damage, and that's the way it is. Okay, fair enough. Next, he also had collaborators. He had managers, label people who knew about, we've known R. Kelly was a pervert for 20 years. Chris Rock was making jokes about it. He made that "Let Me Pee on You" 20 years ago, and no one really cared until now. And so we're also not willing to punish. We just want to punish the one person, and maybe because he benefits the most. But we can also argue whether the artist actually benefits the most from the exploitation of his masters.
True. That's
another question. And then, to me, the biggest one though is that. R. Kelly, we can easily label him a disgusting person, or we can at least easily label the things that he's done and maybe would continue to do as disgusting, but he's also a victim.
I know, it's so hard because he is also a victim, so was Michael Jackson.
Right, and so, and what I think...
But R. Kelly is a grown man with the means to break that pattern with therapy and help.
I'm not saying he shouldn't be held accountable for his actions. I am saying that it's in society's benefit not to just cancel things, but to recognize the need for healing.
Yes.
Right? And I think that we lose the ability to do that when just all of our energy is focused on disgust and fury and punishment.
Yes.
And again, maybe
However,
that's a time thing.
I reserve that right for Chris Brown. I have a no Chris Brown policy in my life.
Fair enough. I don't play Chris Brown because I don't
Yeah, I mean, I don't like his shit
care
anyway.
that much for the
but
music, so
still.
that's an easy one. But yeah, fair enough. I mean, look, we all have to make these choices. So let's talk about you, though, because that's more interesting. So at what point did you decide music was going to be your life and your career?
It was never like that big of a decision.
You weren't like going to be a doctor and then all of a sudden.
I just, I went away to college for my first year, and when I came back to New York, I lived alone. My brother, my sister, and I have a twin sister. We all lived in the same, we all got apartments in the same building.
Oh, cool.
Mark and Charlotte were on the first floor, I was upstairs. So I still spent a lot of time in their apartments because it was a walk up.
Amazing.
And then I realized that like music doesn't just magically appear. So growing up in my house, we had a jukebox with classic 50s, 60s music, and then Mark or my stepfather, there was always music playing, and Charlotte was actually the one my twin was the one who was more. We shared a room our whole lives, so she always had music. She had like cool alternative shit like Dinosaur Jr. and stuff like that. And then when I went to college, I just had a Cat Stevens CD or something.
Okay.
And I was much more singer-songwriter-y kind of into. And then when I got back to New York, all I had was a Hitsville, USA box set and the Macarena. It was literally all I had.
Amazing. That's an amazing
in my
record
apartment
collection.
Yeah, I mean, it was so sad. So I would listen to the radio, and then my stepfather had bought a guitar for himself when he had come to set me up for college, because I lived in Paris, and that's where he started his career. And so I brought it back and hung it on the wall, and then started playing it, and I was like, oh, this is fun. And then that's kind of what started the playing music kind of stuff. And then when I got a car is when I got CDs. Yeah. That's when I started building up my collection musically. I mean, it's so dumb. And then the guy I was dating at the time was the door guy at I don't know if he would say we were dating. I thought we were dating. It was the door guy at this place called Moomba in New York, this lounge that I would go to all the time. And the DJ didn't show up one night. So we got my CDs from the car and we played. Nice. And then they were but I had already started collecting records because the first girl that I hooked up with was kind of hanging out with, she had records. And I was like, that's so fucking cool. So I was buying albums because I loved the sound of the crackling. And so I was just raping my stepfather's record collection, just taking all the greatest stuff.
Sure.
And
I mean, that's kind of what you're supposed to do with your parents' records.
Yeah, I thought so. I don't know if he appreciates it so much, but
of course not.
That's how I built my library.
Yeah.
And so I brought records down the next night, and I'd started buying hip hop records because that he didn't have.
He didn't have that. Yeah.
He didn't have that. So
hard to imagine your stepfather being a big hip hop fan.
But he's a big music fan, so he wasn't not. But it just his records weren't current. It's not like he was still buying records. Sure. They were all 70s, 80s stuff. And so I started I think one of the first albums I remember buying when I was gonna start DJing was Main Source and Breaking Atoms. Is that it?
Atoms.
And
fantastic record.
Yeah, Looking at the Front Door. I love that emo hip hop stuff. Talking about Broken Hearts and shit. We fight every night. Now that's not kosher. I mean, come on. This is one of the greatest.
I never thought of that as emo and rap. I mean, I guess it is.
Yeah, it's all love songs. It's all sometimes I rhyme slow, sometimes I rhyme quick.
Yeah.
Those were all. That's what I connected to. So that Tribe Called Quest, Beastie Boys, kind of all that kind of crew, that East Coast kind of stuff. That's what I started buying, and that's what kind of started. People in New York at the time, you were either a rock and roll DJ or you were a hip hop DJ. There wasn't a lot of crossover.
Yep.
I and my brother would play like cool mashups between like AC/DC and like MOP and do cool stuff, but nobody was playing like a night with all of it in.
Uh-huh.
And when I started DJing, I did, not because I was like some like trailblazer. It's just like I had to fill 6 hours of a night.
Yeah.
From 10 till 4 in the morning.
And in some way you kind of didn't know better.
No, I had no idea. I wasn't meant to be a DJ. Like, I wasn't trying to, like, I was just like, I like this song. I like this song. I wasn't mixing. I wasn't blending. I wasn't, like, beat matching. I was just playing songs. And from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m., that's a very large amount of time, and I'm not that strong. So I didn't have that many records, and so I played what I had.
Right.
I had my crates, and I just kind of mixed it all up. And you could at that time pretty much, because it was, New York was all lounges,
right.
At least where I was going. So like, you know, when Ghetto Superstar was like the #1 record, you played that, but you also played like, I would play Joe Walsh, Life's Been Good So Far, because it was so fucking long. That's how I would open and close every night. And like When Doves Cry was my like go to the bathroom record, the 12-inch of that.
Nice.
I don't know. I mean, so I accidentally made music my life, but it wasn't ever like, Mark was like focused.
Sure.
He was just like, since like I can remember, he was like in my dad's music room, which before you called it like a studio. Right. Like he was like recording songs on a 4-track, you know, like with tape and doing all that crazy stuff. And I didn't really get into music until I was like, oh, it's not just gonna follow me around. Like I've got to figure out how to like provide myself with tunes, and that's kind of like. So was there a moment then, kind of looking in the rear view, that you're like, it just became your? Yeah, like basically the first. I remember writing in my journal after like that first night playing CDs at Moomba, being like, I think I want to be a DJ. Nice. And I remember finding that years later. I mean, like, oh, it wasn't like a total accident. I did decide one night that like great. I liked it, and then. But and did your brother or your stepfather help you kind of get started? No. I think Mark just kind of saw it as something silly. He just said to me, it's better to be thought of a fool than to open your mouth and remove all doubt. Yeah. So like, if you don't know what you're doing mixing, just 1, 2, 3, go. 1, 2, 3, go. Sure. And I was also that kid that was like super passionate about whatever it was that I was passionate about while I was passionate about it, and then equally as passionate about something else, like maybe 15 minutes later. Yeah. Like it wasn't like hypocritical. It wasn't. So was that like? Do you mean like people were expecting you to like just lose interest and move on to something else? Because I like really wanted to be a veterinarian. What do you think? Do you know what I mean? Like I wanted to be an actress. I didn't. So what do you think kept you in music? Well, it was funny because when I was going to like acting classes and doing that kind of stuff, I remember my stepfather talking to me about it, and he was like, "But are you passionate about it?" I was like, "Yeah, I love it." He's like, "No, but like, could you live without it? Like, are you passionate about it?" And I was like, "Yes, it's everything I want to do." And then when I found music, I was like, "Oh, that's what he meant," because like I would die without it. Yeah. And like, that's like. Songwriting too, like I was just like a sad kid, so I would write poetry, and then when I started playing guitar I was like, oh, I could put these two together. Sure. Could be. So I think that's why songs like Looking at the Front Door and Sometimes Where I'm Slow like resonated so much with me, because I always looked at like rappers as poets, like at least the ones that I really enjoyed. Yeah. And so that's why I think I connected so much with those songs, because they were so lyric based and so all about like an emotion or a feeling, more so than I think pop music was at that time. So that's why I loved it so much. And was there a moment, like I think most of us learned about you, you know, in that I forget exactly what year it was, but in that moment where like, you know, Paris Hilton and you know, Aoki was just starting to blow up, and AM. And, you know, I think for a lot of people that was like the pinnacle of club culture crossing over into kind of mainstream culture. Yeah. Was there a moment of a kind of big break? Not really, because it's funny you say that, and then I see these things, like somebody posted something yesterday, and it was like some Teen Vogue article where I'm like, I have no recollection of it whatsoever, but it was me and like Tara Reid and Rosario Dawson from like they were doing Josie and the Pussycats, and I was like giving like one of them, Tara Reid, maybe like a DJ lesson, and I guess maybe one of them was a DJ in the movie, and it was like, and that was definitely before that time. So like I was signed to Rockefeller Records as like as a singer-songwriter. So for me, it was just like more people knew about me, I think maybe because it was in LA and it was that paparazzi culture and all of that, but like I had the same level of whatever in New York too. I just think New York was just like
it was a different
cool.
culture.
Yeah,
it was more of what you're talking about, the lounges.
Yeah, and I just think it was so like, yeah, maybe it was just like, it's looking back on it, it's, I guess, like, maybe who I dated at the time was like, made it a little, put me more on Front Street.
Well, I mean, I kind of like overshadowed, like, I mean, I would assume more people know of you as Lindsay Lohan's ex-girlfriend than as a DJ.
It's so gross. But being known as anybody's ex is just so mortifying. Do you know what I mean?
Fair enough.
Like, but like, especially because I'd had my career going for so long, it wasn't like it's not like I became a DJ while I was with her to like capitalize off that fame. Like it was, those people knew who I was because I was the DJ.
But those people sort of don't matter then to what you're doing.
Right, of course.
You know.
But it's so hard. It's just like I get so frustrated sometimes, you know, and you're fighting with trolls online, and I try not to get got. But sometimes I'm just like, there's sometimes where like people will say something negative and just like rope in my whole family, and it's like, dude, I got more Grammy winners on my kitchen table than like, get the fuck out of here, you know? And like, but it's funny how I don't know about you, I will always find that negative comment. Like there can be like 50, like, you're great, that one negative comment, you're like, I suck, I'm worthless, no good. But like, there's nights when I'm like, you know, I'll text Mark and be like, God, do you ever feel like maybe like you shouldn't be doing this anymore? Or like, he's like, of course, we all have like our bad nights. We all have those nights where we're like, God damn it, like I'm off. And then there'll be like a night that's great, and you're like, oh yeah, I love this. Okay.
That makes sense. I mean, I think
more so when
it's kind of supposed to be that way.
More so when I'm playing like, I don't love a lot of the new. I don't love a lot of like that down tempo trap shit. I don't like. I grew up spinning in an era of like Swiss beats where like the amped records were amped, and now playing like sometimes I feel weird like people dance to Post Malone because it's so slow, and I love his music so much. I think he's so great, but like it's not dance floor music, so I don't really understand. So I've like gone and seen people at like gotten like, if I'm in like Sundance or somewhere like that where DJs are playing a bunch of little nights, and I'll go see someone play after. I'm like, so you play this shit, but nobody dances, but they love it, but they're not, like, it's so weird. So you're like, people get mad when you don't play the record, but then you play the record and no one's dancing to it anyway, so you're like, I don't understand.
Well, I think it's like, people have different reasons, right? And so, like, we come from that club culture where the DJ's job is to make people dance. Yeah. And we go to dance. Right. And so you have this certain, and I think that's one of the challenges. I've seen you play a couple times, and I think you're a great DJ.
Thank you.
And I was in Hong Kong a couple of years ago at a Hugo Boss party. Oh shit, that was fun. And I almost came up and said hi, but it was like nobody was dancing. It was, right, everyone's dressed in black, standing there, and I was like, this is a great set that like no one is paying attention to. And then I saw the Hugo Boss guys later, and they were like, wasn't that a great part? Like, And I was like, no, it sucked, except the music was great.
Thank you.
But
yeah, those nights where you're like, I mean, I ended up having fun in the booth because I liked what I played.
yeah,
But like, yeah, you're like, huh? Like, are you ever gonna get drunk enough to dance? Like, what's gonna happen? And it's just like a different.
but they have a different purpose. Is my point, right?
It's so strange, and I don't drink anymore.
Yeah.
So, I really get in my head so much.
Sure.
And I think I was better off drinking because like I didn't care so much about every single song.
Of course.
But now, like, I was playing at this club in Vegas the other night, and Bruno Mars was there, and so the promoter was like, "Come say hi." Bruno wants to say hi, and like I know him because of my brother. He's a lovely guy, so I like go say hi. And we talked for a little bit, and I made the fucking mistake of being like, "Hey, what do you want to hear?" He's like, "Play some grimy shit, right?" And then, but I'm doing the Lady Gaga after party for her thing, right? So like, I'm not going to be playing grimy shit. I'm going to be catering to the fucking Lady Gaga crowd.
Sure.
So I fucked myself. So now I'm like somewhere in between playing like grimy shit for Bruno and trying to keep my job at the same time. And at the end, I had to just be like, fuck it. I can't worry that Bruno thinks I'm cool.
Right.
Because he's not writing my check. And he's
not going to think about it.
Right.
You know.
But at the same time, but it's a lounge. It is not like it's not a super club, so it's a lounge anyway. So I was just like, I was so torn the whole night. I literally ruined my night with that one little comment because like, then I was like, fuck, is Bruno having a good time? Are they having a good time? Is the promoter, like, am I doing my job? And I was just like, oh, Samantha, like, don't do that. Just like, but so much of it was like catering to.
But that's the hard thing. Like, you know, to me, that's the hard part about being a DJ.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm interested in your perspective, but mine is that you have to find the right balance of playing what you want and what the room wants.
Right.
And if you go too far in either direction, it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
And I have friends who are DJs that are all in their own heads. They play whatever they want. They don't give a shit. They're not, and frankly, like, that's not good DJing.
No, I mean, I'm a codependent, people-pleasing DJ.
But if you're too far in that direction,
can't
right?
win.
Because people don't know what they want, and the whole room doesn't want the same thing, right? And so
you kind of have to just like settle on like 60-70% of the room, and hopefully, like the people that are dancing are the ones that I'm gonna end up playing for because I'm not gonna play for like the four people in the four cool guys in the corner who are like, yeah, I love this record. I'm like, well, tell that to your face. Do you know what I mean? Like,
whenever I go see a friend, like sometimes I'll go see a friend DJing, and they'll say like, is there anything you want to hear? I'm like, you do you. Like, I'm here to see you.
Yeah.
And I don't want to make a request.
Well, it's hard because, you know, like tonight my set will definitely be catered. Like, my friend earlier was asking me, like, well, what are you going to play tonight? I'm like, I'm going to play whatever the room wants.
Right.
Like, you don't have a plan? I'm like, literally no plan. I have all my music.
Yeah.
But, like, if I end up playing, like, a bunch of 80s shit, like, because that's what the room responds to, that's what I'm going to play tonight.
Sure.
I mean, I'll have everything, but I was listening last night from my room. It was like a medley of just shit. Because all the...
Oh, yeah.
Every
beach club
app had a party,
music,
and, like, they were all clashing, and it was offensive. But I was listening, I was like, oh, yeah, I'll probably play that record. Oh, that's working. I was like, oh, I wonder what that crowd must be like. Because it sounded like a set from, like, 15 years ago. I'm like, huh. Like, I love this, but, like...
That's kind of the crowd here.
Right. Well, I was, like, listening, because I was like, oh, maybe I'll hear something. And it was a nightmare. But yeah, it was just... I think a lot too much. But, like... That Hong Kong night was fun because I just played like a bunch of shit that I never play. Like I was playing a lot of up-tempo like house and like stuff that usually I'd be like, oh, that's not my vibe. But if that's the only thing that's getting people excited, like that might have been for the sound guy. Like he might have suggested one song and then I just went on a fucking tear. But
that's cool.
He was who I was like. Whoever's energy is gonna feed, like
sure.
I'm gonna like get excited about. But
nice.
But yeah, after here I go to Tokyo to do like a Moe Hennessy party, which I'm so excited to go to Tokyo.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love it there.
But the same thing, and I'm gonna do One Oak while I'm there.
Oh, cool.
So now I'm like, fuck, what do I? Because like at this point I'm like, well, what do I play for the kids?
Right.
Like, what do the kids like? I was asking Sujit, like, what do you think they like? He's like, hip hop. I'm like, but like, what kind of hip hop? Because I love 90s hip hop, but like then I feel like, am I a dinosaur? Like, am I just playing for me, or are there other people that like? It's really hard being a codependent DJ. Too much thinking going on, man.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It's hard.
So but you also write music.
Yes, I don't play the songs I write though.
No, I get it. And you have a band, Ocean Park Standoff, is that right? And so, is that approach totally different?
Yes, those songs, like when we're writing those songs, I just want to write songs that are like happy, positive, and like hopeful. I feel like the world is just such a shit show right now that it's so easy to get bogged down in the darkness of it. But I feel like the best way to keep moving forward and fighting the good fight or whatever it is with hope. Because I think when you don't have any hope, you're just like, fuck it, I'll just sit here in the dark, you know, and just like, you take care of this fucking problem. I'm not getting sent to a conversion therapy camp. Like, I'm over 18. Like, shit's not like, I'm 40-something years old, like, 41. And, like, at the end of the day, like, shit doesn't, like, I live in California and Los Angeles. Like, the shit doesn't really affect me so much as in my day-to-day life it does, because, like, I have empathy and a conscience and understand that, like, just because I can eat lunch doesn't mean anyone can, and it doesn't mean that I'm just not a Republican. So, like, I care about other people.
I understand.
And so, like...
Wait, you're not a Republican?
I know, it's
totally
shocking,
by
right?
That. It's a revelation.
I was talking to friends today, and I was like, yo, I mean, to be honest, the best way to make any change at this point is to, like, kiss up to Donald Trump, because fucking Kim Kardashian got somebody out of jail. Like... Yeah. And in a way where she was like, it's not about who the president is, it's about who's in charge and how I can get shit done.
It's funny, I've tried to make that argument that, like, liberals should be joining the NRA and, like, kind of infiltrating all of these, conservative organizations and kind of flip them from the inside. I haven't gotten anywhere with that.
Yeah, it's hard
because... moving to conservative states. More
right.
importantly, like...
Yes, that makes sense.
We should be convincing all our friends to move to Alabama.
Right. But then we have to live in Alabama.
None of us are going to.
No, none of us are going to. Sorry. I was just listening to a podcast about Alabama. Shittown?
Oh, no way.
Yeah, Shittown, Alabama.
We should at least be moving to swing states and registering to vote.
Yes, for sure. But...
that's not going to happen either.
But are we that committed at the end of the day?
No.
But, like, if it's not about just pressing like on a photo...
I don't want to get off the west side.
Right. And, like... It's hard, it's difficult because, like... You want to do the most you can, right?
Yeah.
And I laugh all the time because we are literally doing the least. We are doing our least.
Yeah, you're clicking.
Posting shit on Instagram. Like, during the election, I was definitely all over the country trying to rally, doing all that stuff. I was doing the most I could then. On reflection, I probably could have done more. We can always do more.
Sure.
But at this point, I'm
drive
like...
people to the polls.
Right, and I did that for, like, a mayoral race once for old people. But, like... But at the same time, I'm like... I had my time. Like, it's y'all kids that need to fucking do the work now. Like, the kids, the 18-year-olds, can literally swing this election.
Yes.
This next election. It is literally the ball is in their court. If they...
So we're, I'm a little bit older than you, but you know, we're of generations where, Bob Marley, Marvin Gaye, people made songs, certainly all the rock hippies made, songs that inspire people to take action, right? Whether it was
What's going on?
yeah,
Natural fact is, honey, that I can't pay my taxes. I mean, come on, some of the greatest.
for sure, right? And so we had this political music, protest music.
That's what I kept saying. Where's the music? Where's the songs?
That's what I'm asking you.
Where's the fucking songs? Well, I'm a white Jewish kid that grew up on the Upper West Side between like New York and London. Like, I feel like for me,
Jews control Hollywood, don't you know that?
but you know what I mean? I think my voice isn't the voice that's needed. Do you know what I mean?
No, I'm not saying you should be making this up.
Oh, okay. I'm just saying, like, I would love to write the song, but like, it's not my perspective.
It's right for somebody else.
Right. But I feel like, yeah.
Well, I'm not trying to point the finger at you. I'm asking your perspective
that was
on that.
That was what I thought was glaringly missing from this movement in general. Like, where's the songs? Like, the fuck, man. Like, the songs are the thing that do the thing. Like the '60s, and like I remember when I was in college, like my thesis would have been had I done it, was how like music could move movements, and like how like the social commentary of our generation was going to be hip hop as opposed to like the way it was Joni Mitchell, Bob Dylan, and all those people telling the stories, and the oral history from our times would be hip hop now.
Right.
And how important that is, and like, like Fuck Donald Trump was like my favorite record when it came out. You know, and there's clubs that have like you can't play that record.
You know, I've had DJ Spider on the show talking about how like that song and others, like he goes to certain parts of the country and they're like, you got to watch what you play.
Yeah. And you're like, no, but I know clubs in LA that say you can't play that.
Really?
And I don't want to put anybody on Front Street, but I would love to.
Who are they?
I can't.
I'm just kidding.
But I would love to, because I think it's absolute bullshit that like you're scared in
but they're
Los Angeles.
They're in the bar business.
But it's Los Angeles. No, but that's what I'm saying. Like
Right.
We're in Los Angeles, and you think it's going to affect your bottom line. That says something about the clientele, which means that like we might think that we live in a blue state, but like we obviously.
Well, you're
having drinks with a Trump supporter. You just don't know it.
That's possible, or it's going to get out on social and your tourist business. I don't know. I don't know who's.
It just terrifies me. Because for me, like
it's a complicated time. Isn't
I
it?
remember right after the election, like playing this charity event in LA that I do every year for my friends. I played Fuck Donald Trump, and my boy was like, and who heavily campaigned for Hillary.
Yeah.
Was like, nah, don't play that. And I was like, fuck you, dude. I'm gonna play it.
Yeah.
Like, first of all, I'm DJing for you for free. Second of all, fuck off, bro.
Well,
I'm gonna play that
record.
record.
DJing for free, there should be no interference with what you're playing.
Like, it's your charity event that I've DJed every year, and I will play this. And I'm still upset about it. It was like literally 3 days after the election. I was like, that was the only thing that was getting me through.
Yeah.
And it actually surprises me that there's not more. I mean, I kind of feel for Katy Perry, because I feel like people gave her a lot of shit for non-Democrats. She did a lot of campaigning for Hillary.
Oh, okay.
So, and she's a pop star, and stadiums, are filled with not necessarily just Democrats.
Yeah.
So
it's weird that way.
Yeah, so for her, I mean, I also think that like her last record wasn't very good, so I think that plus that, her latest single, I think is great.
Really?
Yeah, I love it. I can't, like, I'll play it tonight for sure.
Okay.
I played it the other night in Vegas. I love it so much. But I feel like some people have been burned by standing up.
Sure.
But
do you ever worry about that? I mean, like I was saying earlier, you're pretty outspoken, at least on your social. Like, you seem like a person that doesn't bite your tongue too much.
Yeah, I definitely don't.
Are there things like that you won't say because you're worried about the impact it might have on your business?
No, I mean, I think that has been, the damage has been done on that level already. Like, listen, think if you're hiring me, you're probably... I mean, you probably already were. Yeah, I'm sure I'm sure I've lost a certain amount of business in certain places because of how vocal I am.
Yeah.
But I thought about that more after the election. But I also think that I'm all right, and
Sure.
that's cool. And I think I've also gotten, probably jobs based on my
Right.
how vocal I am. So I feel like it all evens out anyway.
I mean, it's interesting. I had our mutual friend Sofia Bush on the show, and she talked about kind of the personal price that she's paid
Yeah.
of like death threats and crazy.
Yeah, because she was on a show that took place in North Carolina. Like,
Right.
she's like every girl, like white girl,
Yeah.
like every
She's white.
Yeah, right. You know what's so funny? When I was on Rockefeller, Dame Dash would like bring me to like places, the radio, wherever, and he'd introduce me, and he'd introduce me to all these things like, yo, she's a DJ and she's this and da da da. She's Jewish. People would be like, all right. And she's like, and she's white. And it's like, yo, Damon, they can see. Like, no one is confused. There's nobody who's looking at me and being like, what?
Dame Dash doesn't see color.
Right. Apparently not.
Apparently.
But he definitely lets other people know what color it is, just in case.
That's right.
But yeah, no, with Sofia, like, I always like, like, she's probably every like Tulane girl's like, this is who I want to be when I grow up.
Sure.
And those, for that girl to then realize that like their politics don't necessarily align,
Yeah.
or like doesn't. I'm sure it's tough, especially because she's on like network TV shows. She's not like an indie actress. She's like,
Right.
but which I think is so bold and brave. And I don't know about it. I try not to use the word brave because it seems tough to be like, she's so brave. It's like she's like tweeting and Instagramming and like speaking at things. She's not doing this in Alabama,
Right. But there is a certain, because
But
there's a cost
for her,
to it,
yes.
right?
And so
yeah.
like I remember like Deborah Messing and people like that. I was like, yeah, like that is brave. And I was just qualifying why I was calling her brave.
Got it.
Because like
Sure.
in some cases you're like, calm down with the brave. They're not like in the minds, but like like when you're on a network TV show and that is how
Yeah.
you feed yourself and your family and whatever else, like to put your neck out there and
Yeah.
just be all about it.
For sure.
It was funny that I was after they brought back Will and Grace, and I never watched it back in the day because it was like, I don't know, I didn't have TiVo and I'd be DJing, so I just like never saw like TV from that time, and I was
That's funny.
so impressed with how bold and brave that show was at a time when being gay wasn't cool. Like being gay wasn't.
Yeah, but I mean, TV, that's what TV's supposed to do, right? Norman
Yeah.
Lear kind of invented that. Since the 70s, TV is supposed to like process these social changes
Yeah.
in funny ways or in ways that like bring these uncomfortable topics into our living rooms and let people kind of metabolize them, right?
Yeah.
And, music's kind of supposed to do the same thing. I wonder. I was in an interesting conversation with a transgender kind of social justice activist, who's very like outspoken about people's right to be whoever they are, and yet they were mad at Snoop Dogg because on the Source Awards 20 years ago, he came out with women in dog collars and chains.
You still mad at Snoop from 20 years ago?
Yeah, and like, oh, that's disgusting. It was like, yeah, but that wasn't for you,
Right.
right? Like that was to appeal to his fan base and to piss off everyone's parents and everyone else, basically, right? And so I think,
And like he didn't put you in the dog collar.
no, but
Those women, maybe they were just like, yeah, I'll take that fucking check. If they didn't.
yeah, but I
feel
don't know
the
if you
need
can do
by
that today.
it. No, I mean, you could, but
Well, I don't know if the
It'd be a
TV
bold move.
network. I don't think MTV would air it today.
right.
Right.
But that's the thing. That's the problem with all this fucking cancel culture
Yeah.
and all this overly, no, not overly, but this woke culture where it's just like, no, you can't do this, you can't do that. It's like, well, where does art live in that?
Samantha Ronson says, "Don't be woke.
No, I'm down with
Being woke is a joke." Is that your
No.
new?
No, but it's just like I think at a certain point, like, I don't want to be told what I can and cannot do, because it seems like at a certain point, we're all kind of like tiptoeing around for the one person in the room, and it's like, well, what about everybody else in the room? What about, like, I understand that, like, somebody's feelings are always going to be hurt. Somebody is always going to have an issue with you, no matter what. So it's like, okay, but at a certain point, like, you want me to, like, curate everything around the one person that's going to have the comment, but that person's always going to be mad about something.
Right.
Like, I don't know. It's really hard, and I get really frustrated sometimes. I'm like, fuck all that, and then you'll have a conversation with somebody. You're like, I get it. So, because, like, ultimately, like, it's like, did you ever watch that show, Absolutely Fabulous?
No.
The English show? Well, like, the only way the daughter of the crazy mom could rebel was, like, by being a nerd.
Uh-huh.
Because, like, the mother was so out of her mind that, like, the rebellion for her was,
That's
like,
how it is in
studying
my
math
house.
and science. Kind of in my house, too, because, like, anything kind of went. So, like, I was just, like, read books and shit.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, as, like, kind of a rebellious human being, when everything is so... everyone's being forced to be a certain way by that, it's just like, fuck you, dude. Like, don't tell me how I can and cannot. I don't know.
Yeah. I get it. It's
Like-
very rock and roll.
Yeah.
What are you doing with Ocean Park Standoff?
Well, Ocean Park Standoff is in a little rearrange right now.
Okay.
So we are currently doing, like, I think maybe some features and figuring out what we want to do with a new singer. So that's kind of
Fun.
yeah.
Band stuff.
It's fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
Bands are fun.
Yeah, I'm sure.
A lot of dynamics there. A lot of interesting, it's a lot of egos.
So are you working on solo stuff, or you're focused on DJing?
No. I do not want to be solo.
I meant like writing.
Oh yeah, I'm doing writing sessions. I really ultimately just want to write for other people and like not have 500,000 miles on American Airlines. You know what I mean? Like, it'd be nice to be home.
Yeah.
But I do like traveling. Also, like right now, it's fun because I get to go to Tokyo, and go DJ, and be here, and kind of just like spin.
How much of what you do? I mean, I know you're playing Page 6 Party tonight. Tokyo sounds like a brand thing. How much of what you do is brand stuff?
I mean, 50% maybe? Because I don't spin that much anymore. Right. So, like, I haven't been, like, for a while I was doing, like, a fun party in LA with some friends of mine. Mm-hmm. And that was really cool. And we just kind of played whatever we wanted. And I was actually just talking to Sujit saying I'd love to do, like, maybe, like, once a month in LA just to be out and about listening and just, like, seeing what the vibe is. Because it's hard when, like, there's not a lot of DJs that I would go out to hear. So it's hard to know.
No, you should do something and bring DJs in and get to hear them.
Yeah. So, like, I don't have to go anywhere. I just, like, pick a spot and just bring in a revolving door. I basically just want to hear my brother spin. He's really my favorite.
Nice.
He's good at balancing the new and the old.
Yeah.
He's very, very scientific about it.
Do you live in Venice?
I did.
You did?
I did for a while. I loved it down there. I used to spin at the Brig on Monday nights.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I remember. So you kind of like, I think you also sort of popularized moving to Venice.
Oh, did I?
I don't know, but I kind of feel like that was the time. I've been on the West Side for a long time, and it feels like that was the time when it kind of became cool to move to Venice.
I'm such a trendsetter.
Yeah, for sure.
You know,
Stock in Venice.
well, I actually moved to Venice because my dog was evicted from the city of West Hollywood, and my studio was out in Venice at that point. And then in order for me to get my dog back, because she got impounded.
Oh, wow.
I got to choose where, so I was at my vet. It cost me a fucking fortune for 4 months. But I had to move somewhere and have it approved by animal control. And so I was just like, fuck it, Venice. And because it was near my studio, I had like a couple weeks to figure it out. And so it was like November, and I was like, all right, cool, I'll just get a place in Venice. And then I really got down with living down there. It's close to the airport. The air smells so good.
It's great.
I mean, my band is Ocean Park Standoff because I was living in the Ocean Park neighborhood. And then I moved to Silver Lake.
Okay.
And then, of course, as soon as I had my house and was getting it ready, I fell in love, and now I live in Nichols Canyon.
Oh, okay, cool. Nice. So what are you working on next, besides going to Tokyo?
Besides going to Tokyo, I am, what am I doing? Working on Ocean Park stand-up stuff, actually.
Yeah.
Took a little break to, regroup, figure out what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And now we're doing writing sessions and just finding, features, and, I'm kind of going to put as much focus into that for the next few months.
Nice.
And see what happens, yeah.
Killer. Can't wait to hear it.
To make some money.
Yeah, sure, might as well.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a little lightning round. Some fast questions before I let you go. What's your favorite city to travel to?
New Orleans.
That's cool.
Love that
I went to
place.
Jazz Fest last year for the
You
first
did?
time.
I've never been.
Amazing. You have to go. It's like a totally different festival experience.
It's like food and music, right?
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, the Creole food all throughout the festival is amazing.
I've got to do it. I'm gonna do it.
That's cool. Who's your favorite DJ?
Mark Ronson.
Thought you might say that. What's the last great book you read?
I've been reading the Neapolitan novels, that Elena Ferrante book. There's 4 of them. My Brilliant Friend.
I don't know it.
There's 4 of them. I'm finishing the 3rd one right now.
Oh, okay. I'll check for that.
Yeah, they're really
And true
good.
crime podcasts, apparently.
And true crime podcasts.
What movie have you seen the most in your life?
Probably Elf or Runaway Bride.
Okay.
Those are my Elf just makes me happy, and Runaway Bride was my go-to for watching and falling asleep, but ending up staying up watching it. It's just peaceful.
Okay. I think Elf might be my wife's favorite movie. It's
So
wonderful.
good.
That's
So
fun.
good.
Complete this sentence. I don't have talent, I have blank.
Don't have talent. I have passion.
If I worked for you, what's something I would hear you say over and over?
If I worked for you, what's something? You're amazing. I don't know what.
Is that your style? Are you very supportive?
No. If I worked for you, what would you hear over and over? Probably you got this.
Okay. Are you a good delegator?
Yes, I believe that I'm not 100%. I'm 100% and nothing is nothing. So I'm a big fan of whoever's the best at something.
Yeah.
Should do that.
Yeah.
I don't need to prove that I'm great at everything. I just want to be really good at one thing, and I want to be in a room with all the people who are really good at their thing, and then you collaborate.
Nice. That's important. I think especially as you get more successful and your business grows and that, people try to do it all.
Yeah,
because that's what got them in the first place.
Yeah, but I think
work.
at a certain point that stops serving you.
Yeah, that's right. Who would you be most excited to learn appreciates your work?
Oh, that's crazy. don't know. Taylor Swift just put one of our songs on her playlist.
Oh, cool.
And I was really shocked. And a friend of mine the other day was talking to me about it. And she's like, "Oh, do you know Taylor?" I was like, "I don't know her. Like, I have absolutely no idea how she found the song and put it on her playlist." But like, so I think in that, I'm not having nothing to do with her music or who she is. But like the fact that like I don't know her at all. Like, just like she just happened to like our song and put it on her playlist. Like,
that's awesome.
I'm not necessarily like a Taylor Swift fan, but
doesn't matter.
When it's somebody who's completely out of
Yeah.
the ether, just like randomly as a fan, you're like, oh shit, cool, because that's really real.
Right.
Like that song connected with you. That's pretty cool.
That's really cool.
I'd be scared for anybody else. I'd be scared to like hope for anything else because like that's just always too disappointing.
Fair enough. Well, thanks again for doing this. I really appreciate
Thank you for having me.
spending time with me in Cannes.
Sorry for not staying on one topic very well.
Oh, that was fun. I love it. We're in LA, so come by the studio anytime. Promote the new Ocean Park stand-up record.
When I actually
when the
have
time
something to promote.
Yeah, that'll be great.
Hopefully, we'll see.
How should everyone find you online?
Instagram at Samantha Ronson. I basically like. I kind of don't really fuck with Twitter anymore. It's just too many, just like
trolls.
It's not even that. It's just like I've curated it to such a point that it's just like a bunch of like people like me yelling.
Right.
It's like yelling in a vacuum.
Sure.
You're just like it's like a bunch of angry like liberals.
Yeah.
Feeding each other, and you're like, okay, we're just talking to each other.
Totally get it.
We need to get out somewhere else and talk to people that aren't us.
Yeah, totally.
Preaching to the choir seems like. So, I like Instagram because it's less angry and more pretty.
I like that.
Yo, I hope you enjoyed that one. I know I did. Make sure you leave us some comments, some reviews, some whatever you have to say it. You can find us pretty much everywhere on social at Rebel Radio Net, Twitter, Facebook, blah, blah, blah. And most importantly, come back next week for more Rebel Radio.